Uh, so the last article is actually just Outriders. We mentioned it before in the beginning of the show, but this is more specific about Outriders. So it was released on the first day, and it actually had a less than stellar launch day since the servers were down for most of the day and the next day. So people reported getting kicked on Twitter, and some even had the game crash. I saw this happening this whole time because I follow the Twitter page. This
I
Didn't
wouldn't
it
played
happen in
through
beta?
it, the crash.
Yeah. This wouldn't be a big deal if you could reconnect back quick, but it was even that wasn't that easy. Plus any mission progression that you made, you lost a lot of it. Like sometimes you'll keep loot, sometimes you won't. Sometimes you keep experience, sometimes you won't. It'll reset you back to your previous checkpoint, even though you already completed that checkpoint. So the Outriders Twitter account I've been following, they've been really communicative, I guess is the word, and vocal about the issues, and have kept everyone in a loop for pretty much the entire time, which was there. I think they're amazing for actually doing something like that. What are your
And they're
thoughts?
being honest on what was wrong.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on that type of like this is not the first time we've heard of things like this. Like, it's always going to happen with any game launch, a big game launch. The servers are going to be down. They're going to have a hard time getting it back up. Everybody wants to jump in all at once. Like, what are your experiences with that? What are your thoughts on that, Randy?
They should really expect more people than what they think they're gonna get,
Yeah, I agree.
and that's really all it
Say that
kind of
again.
boils down to. That they should always expect more people to like hop onto their games than what they think they're gonna get.
Yeah.
So like if you expect like 1 million, expect two just in case.
Hmm.
You know, because that could definitely save like a lot of fucking headaches. Um, One thing that actually happened was with Jay and I when we were playing the Strive beta, the Guilty Gear Strive. Um, it kept on shutting down for a bit. So like for 2 days, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. The beta itself just wasn't accessible because there were so many people that wanted to like jump onto that the pre-order day was totally fine, but then the actual open beta, fucking nightmare. Fun,
That's why it's
granted,
better.
but yeah, no, of course. But the thing is that it's like they just wanted to do a couple play tests, but because so many people flooded the gates, they had to shut down the servers, expand them a bit, and then give a 2 day extension for the game itself. But it's also really good that they're like communicating because Arx is also the same thing with like actually listening to everybody.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mentioned that specifically because fuck, I'm gonna end up doing this. Taking my shot now.
Oh, Destiny.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah. Let me
So
take one. I'm gonna
the
mention
thing
it as well.
the thing with Destiny is that when they release a new season, which is like their new DLC every 3 months, or a new patch comes out, or even a big release, which happens once a year, whenever they release this stuff, they always have server issues. Always. Never fails.
I never play on the first day because of
Yeah.
it.
And it frustrates the hell out of me because they should know what to expect. Now, the thing is that when it comes to the communication part, is I follow their Twitter as well, and they're pretty much just saying servers are down. We're trying to fix whatever we can. That's pretty much it. Like the corporate answer for everything.
Yeah,
Like it's never
no.
any details. It's never like something to kind of make it lighthearted, to kind of like have people to kind of have a sense of humor or laugh about it. This is what people in Outriders have been doing. They've been joking. I wish I could. I wish I saved some of the Twitter posts that they put, but there were some funny shit, and they were like some of them was vulgar too. So it was actually funny that these professional developers and PR guys were like posting this stuff on Outriders, just making people laugh to try to make it light of the situation, and it worked.
Hmm.
And they were being honest about what was wrong. They were saying, "No, crossovers messed up right now. We don't know what's going on. We're trying to figure out the service. For whatever reason, whenever somebody gets crossed over, they shuts down." And that was a big part of why people were getting shut down because they can randomly jump into your game and you have to turn it off to have function off. And if you did that, then it played for the better. But they were honest about it. You know, they didn't try to hide it. They didn't give the Destiny 2 answer where it's like,
Yeah,
oh, we'll be back soon. You know, no,
yeah.
we'll
Just
might be
wait.
down for
That was
now. Let's
pretty
see what
much it. Just
happens.
wait. And
Yeah,
then
this
two
way.
hours later, just wait. And then another hour later, just wait. That's pretty much it the entire time.
And I think that's and I think I think most games like this kind of they try to expect as much as they can, but ultimately, if you're doing Like you expect a million because you're trying to be optimistic and not really undersell yourself. Because if you don't do the million, then you're gonna look really bad.
It's
But
also
if you
it's
did the
also about
million,
the cost too, though. Like it costs money
yeah,
to be maintaining these servers. So even if like you're
hmm
expecting a million, sorry, if you're expecting 2 million, even though you get a million, then you're spending money for that extra million for no reason, and they're trying to
yeah.
keep those costs
So
down.
they,
Yes, yes, but no, because also it's a thing of like, okay, you expect a million because let's say you have like an X amount of numbers that you know that played your demo, right? Now there are going to be those that obviously didn't play the demo.
Hmm.
Example, me and Kevin played the demo, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he played the demo, you played the demo, I didn't. Now I wasn't going to experience it for myself, but you told me to try it out regardless, right? At some point, I am going to, I was going to, whatever the case,
mhm.
but like expect one person to tell at least one other person or two other people. So that's why like you should increase your numbers just a little bit by what you're expecting. You know what I mean?
But that's hard to say when you don't know what the number is. You know, it's like that's like a hard estimate of, okay, if, let's say for example, Danny told us how to play Outriders, right? He told me and you, that's two
Hmm.
people. So do you expect for every one person that played Outriders to tell two people? Like
Not
that's
necessarily people, but just hike it up a little bit.
no,
It's
but that
it's
that's
it, it, it what he's that's what
It,
he's
it's
saying.
tricky,
It's an
but
unpredictable estimation because
no, of course.
it's not even just word of mouth, but it's even just like how much they've been advertising, and they've never played the game or the demo or never even heard of it, and now they want to buy it and play the game. And those are the people that you don't even know about that are actually going to play the game, jump on the servers, and overload it.
I'm gonna take my shot. Nah, that's like the Dragon Ball server. Do you know how that it ran well, even though the game was running, I guess, poorly on the beta? But
Fighters.
yes, it had a beta and it ran well. And they had a lot of numbers. I don't remember what the number was for the beta, but it was a lot of people played it. I played it, I enjoyed it. And even when the server went down and everything, I was like, I'm still gonna play the game when it comes out. Well, I'm gonna purchase it when it comes out because the title alone. It does matter about marketing, especially with the game. If not anybody knows about it, if they're just like, oh, it's an Outriders, probably another Destiny clone or whatever shooter that came out, it's like they're not gonna pay mind to it. So I guess it was marketing and then the underestimation of people joining the server that they had. Um, but it's like at the end of the day, the fact that they made, I guess, they made fun of it of their own well their own problems. Like it makes them more human, so it makes them more relatable. Like, oh, okay, even if I have to wait 7 8 hours to play the game, at least they're keeping us updated every time they do
Hmm.
something. Not just like keep us in the dark like some some developers that they usually do, and then we end up finding out that it's never going back up. But I'm glad that they're actually making this step. I'm not saying names. I'm not saying names. I'm just saying like it does happen. But I'm glad that they made fun of their own mistakes and they're doing better. Because at the end of the day, we expect so much out of these developers, and at the end of the day, they're just like everybody here. They're all people. They make mistakes, and
Yeah.
they fixed it, and that was it. That's all we need to worry about.
Yeah, and they're still
Um,
fixing it. The game is still a bit broken. Even as we play the game, me and Danny had run into a couple glitches and just weird shit going on. But it's still a great game as long as you're just communicating with us and we know you're trying to fix it. It's fine. I think that's also the
And
thing
it's
with
playable at
Bungie.
the end of the day.
Yeah,
mhm.
I think that's also the thing with Destiny specifically is that whenever even though they give the corporate answer and it's frustrating, at the end of the day, they still fix their game
Mhm.
and it still
Now,
does well.
now what if? Here's my theory. What if this is just a marketing ploy?
Mhm.
Let's say your game comes out, it comes out all over the world, but it doesn't crash the server. Did you do bad? Do you think that you didn't get enough people, or you can promote the fact that your game did so well it crashed the service?
It's
You were
possible.
so overwhelmed, you were so that it crashed it, and Destiny does it every time it comes out, and because they say Destiny is the most popular game. What if it's not? What if it's just like shit happens
Well, I
type of
mean, the
thing?
numbers don't lie. There are shit. I can't remember the numbers anymore. There are millions. There are millions of Destiny players out there that are trying to play all at once. So the numbers don't lie. But you're right though. Any game, any release could still just bullshit and say oh, our servers crashed because so many people just showed up, but it could be bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, because that looks again, that does at the end of the day, that still does look better than. Yeah, our servers ran great, and we still had like a million people could have came on, but we didn't fill them because we couldn't. Like, it's like when you sell a stadium, you don't wanna undersell the fucking stadium. You want to sell it out.
Yeah.
You want to pack that bitch, get as much as you can. So
I, I personally feel like it's just like there's no such thing as bad publicity. Like it all depends on what you do with the publicity you have for whatever it is, and how you spin it. You know what I mean? Like especially like they had the server crashes, and then their retaliation was, I'm going to make I'm gonna give updates. I'm gonna make humorous remarks on it, and we're gonna try to fix it. And like that's the same thing. Even Bungie is like, we're gonna give a response, even as robotic as it is. We're gonna fix the server, and it'll be up in whatever time it is. It's always, I guess, it's more like a wave, how you spin the publicity you have for whatever situation it is, and benefit from it.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you can get a bad server from like Destiny, and then they fix it, and then they're like, oh, Destiny's great, and then everybody's like, oh, you should start playing Destiny. Same thing with Outriders. It's like, oh, the server's better,
uh-huh.
you can get more into it now. So I was like, it's more I would say the way you spin it.
Uh-huh.
But who knows? Who knows?
There are like way too many possibilities for that.
Yeah, it's it's like a question that has multiple answers, and all answers could be right. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing with this I guess article, that it questions. It's like it's so many ways that you can take it, and there's some ways you can like feel about it. I guess it's the same thing, but it's more comes to like however way you like respond, like personally respond to it, like the article as well, and even the actions that happen. Oh, can I have some? I'm hungry. But yeah, like I'm glad that the team at Outriders are like, I know it's gonna sound messed up, but it's like they feel human, because there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
companies that don't feel human. So that's all I care about. It's like, as long as they could be relatable. We can always get in contact with them. They can always give us information when they can, because I don't expect to answer every 30 seconds, but whenever they can is something that I'm glad about. I'm glad that they took the time to respond
Here,
at
here's
all.
a better comparison, aside from
Mm.
Bungie, is oh man, I'm gonna get the hiccups. CD Project Red. Look at the way they handled their PR during everything that fucked up with them. Is they gave so much corporate bullshit, saying that they didn't know about this, they didn't know about that. They didn't own up to any of it until until they were getting sued from almost everybody, and then they
But
eventually started
I
doing
think that's
apologies.
I think that's a completely different situation because
It is a
no
different
matter what
situation, but
they said,
I'm talking about how they responded to everything, how they
but
handled the situation.
even if they handle the situation 100% the best way you can say, I'm sorry, I apologize, it's for free fucking shit in game, whatever.
Mhm.
The game is still broken. Like there's nothing fucking do about it. That game was beyond broke.
And
It should
yet
never
they
been
never.
released.
But what I'm saying is that they never owned up to it, though. They said, "Oh, we didn't know anything about this. It should be playing well. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. Sorry, we didn't know about this."
But
And then they started
but
getting
what I'm saying
sued,
is,
and that's when apologies
e-
started happening. They started saying,
but
"Oh
even
yeah,
if
we know
they
the
did
game's
own up
broken."
to it, even if they did own up to it at the beginning of the game, in the very beginning when it first came out, it still wouldn't have changed a thing on that aspect. Where when it comes to outright things like this, where there are a few jokey remarks in a time where they know it's going to be maybe a day or two, you'll get over the hump and then you will forget about it, and because you're going to be so enthralled in the game, you couldn't get enthralled with this Cyberpunk because the game didn't fucking work,
Yeah.
especially for PS4 or so it's completely different. What they failed at ultimately, the biggest 100% failure was releasing the game when it wasn't ready. If they had to push another year, they should have pushed another year. The game still
Yeah,
would have been great next year. People would
that's
have
like,
loved it if they played.
Yep.
Right.
that was like the same thing. Like the comparison that you could have used in that statement was for CD Project Red and the developer of No Man's Sky, because they were hyping the game up so much, and then it came
Yeah.
out and it was a
It
piece of
still won't
and it was a
work.
piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry to say, but the game is great now, but it was like when it came out, it was a piece of shit, and it's like, I don't understand why did they why it's like you hype the game up so much, and then it's like you don't back it up. Same thing with Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk was it was supposed to be like a great game and all this stuff, and then it came out the way it did. And I'm sorry that it was like I felt like it was more like it was more the suits and also fans as well that were pushing for it to come out so soon. And it's like they needed more time. Like they needed obviously they needed more time. It's there's no such thing as a game that comes out
Well,
in like
it's. I think it's because of the fact that they released a release date. They had a release date. They said December. I think was the original. Like
That's not the
December,
developer's
November.
choice, though. That's all publishers.
suits.
That's what I'm saying. So they chose that date, and then they were trying to meet that date, and they knew they weren't ready. Instead of just saying, "Fuck, we're gonna have to push it back a year," you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, but
And if they would have
and
just
that's
did
the
that,
point where the publishers say no, we're not going to push it back because we're not going to pay you any more money, and then they're just like,
yeah.
fuck it, we just got to release this shit now, and now we got to deal with it.
I don't know. That's a stupid. That's it feels like it's the developer's fault, but it's like it can always be a lot of things. It's not always the developer's
Yeah.
fault.
I
Like
mean, they could have. I think somebody could have pushed back and be like, "No, look, this
some
game's not ready,"
something
you know,
because
and stopped it because it would have made more money if somebody I think pushed it and logistically said, "Hey, look, this is what is happening. This is what we're gonna do. This is how we can fix it." But I think they got greedy. I think they thought they could pull a Witcher because they did the same thing with The Witcher.
Yeah.
They thought they can bring it out. Yes, it's gonna have tons of massive bugs, but at least it'll still be kind of playable, and then we'll fix it all while you're playing. And then by the time you realize it, it'll become Game of the Year, and you won't realize it. So people will
um
be like, "Oh, wow, come on, I didn't play this game."
yeah like my example is I'm taking a shot for it already. I'm just want to talk before I finish taking the shot because I think
Oh
I'm
my
gonna fail
god.
it. Is Guilty Gear, and Guilty Gear was supposed to come out this year, April, right? If I'm not
Oh, it
mistaken.
was. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and it got pushed back to, if I'm not mistaken, August or September. And I'm glad that they did it because the game looks so good. But I'm like, it's always good to have a game, just throw it in the oven for like another 30 minutes, an hour of it's undercooked. You know what I mean? Like it's always good for the extra time because then even if you're gonna have problems with the suits and whoever's above you with the game. You know what I mean? Like it's always good to know that it's your baby. Like don't send out something just because you need to send it out. Send it out because you know. Like you know what I mean? And the thing that I was so passionate about is that like now that I'm watching a lot of developers and all this stuff, I've watched a whole anime on people make games. So like I'm very passionate when they're like, okay, we need some extra time. I was like, okay, cool. That means they're working on it. That means they're taking the time to work on the project. But I don't know. I
But that doesn't that to me. I don't know if it's
Mhm,
because of the all the consoles,
mhm.
the old gen and the next gen that people are having trouble with getting them playing on multi platforms. But that seems to be the norm now, where if game is released, the release date supposed to be November, you're not expecting it in November. You're
Yeah,
gonna see it December,
Yeah,
January. I
yeah.
mean, it started with for me. I feel like it started with Final Fantasy. I think I need to get shots when I say Final Fantasy. That's probably my thing. Anyway, uh, um, but it started with that, and they pushed that back, and then there was another game. I'm not sure if it was Ghost. There's another game that was supposed to come out like right as same as
What was it?
it
Ghost
was
Recon, right? If I'm not mistaken, was supposed to be
yeah,
the
it was
same as
that
well.
that they got. I think the Cyberpunk was also supposed to be the same time, but they all got pushed, and then everything kept getting pushed, and then every game's even like besides Demon Souls, that was a thing, but Outlanders and the game that's coming out at the end of this month, Returnal, that all got pushed as well because they said the same thing. We need more time, you know.
hmm
So
Especially,
that
especially,
seems to be the new norm.
I would say, especially now with the situation we're in with, you know, the virus coming around.
Yeah,
It's harder to be like, oh, we need this game now.
yeah.
Especially the
That's probably could be a big
so
thing right now. Yeah.
yeah. So I understand when they're like, oh, we need more time. I'm like, obviously, because you probably
Okay,
have like
you're
but
a
all
here's
working from home.
yeah, and you
but
probably have like
okay,
a
but
bunch of
here
people
okay,
working.
okay. If you're working from home from a bar and working from home from a fucking computer, it's way
Mhm.
two different things. So I don't ever really get that concept. You're working from a computer, gonna be on a computer.
Yeah.
It's not like you're just on the internet video chatting with everybody and talking and stuff. There's a lot of coding I mean, you know a little bit about this stuff. Like there's a lot of coding
Yeah.
that's involved. Everybody, so for example, Kevin could be coding for a game level while I'm coding for the character design, while Danny is coding for the controller, and then we all have to keep on in communication and collaboration. I gotta send you my files, and then you gotta send me your files, and then I gotta compose your coding, and then you got to compile my coding, and it all got to work together, and it's all got to fit into like this fucking puzzle and stuff like that. Like it's a lot of
Yes,
coordination.
And then fucking
and I agree
Kevin's
with
dog
that.
plays on his
But that
computer,
doesn't.
and Danny's hamster eats through his fucking, his headset and shit.
Oh
You
yeah, so
sound
like
like a
that.
But
mouse.
there's like other things that also like come from working
Yeah,
like at
probably a
home.
real life thing.
Yeah,
But
So
I think I think it's been proven that the productivity is more at home than when you're at work because there are things at work to stop you versus at home you feel that guilty sensation of having to work your 9 hours completely straight and you have a in most times more straight to goal. And these things can be hooked up together. I mean, there's a file sharing service, all these things that you know they can pour into it and they could all link out really well. I mean, us four are Dropbox and shit to each other, and they can do it at a much higher level.
yeah, but you got to be more
I
cautious
know
with
they do.
files like that because that's days or weeks or months of work that could get lost or stolen very easily. Those are source codes that can be used against them as well. So you got to make sure that the stuff that you do use, if you want to use something similar to Dropbox, they got to be secure. Because
Yeah,
I
obviously,
can't, I can't.
It wouldn't be Dropbox.
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
think
yeah.
they would have their own service.
Because
Whatever service
I
they're
can't remember
using.
what game recently their source code was stolen. I can't remember what it was, and it was being held ransom.
Wasn't it Cyberpunk?
It was Cyberpunk. Yes, it was.
Yeah,
It was
it
Cyberpunk.
was. Yeah.
Give me your fucking money, Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's
So you
developers
gotta,
like the fucking game's not done anyway.
it's
Take the source
tricky.
code.
Is that why the game? You know what? That's a theory. That's a game theory.
Imagine that wasn't the case. They were just like, shit, what can we say? Cyber pirate.
Just throw in the last version that we made and just release it.
Yeah, right.
All right.
There were
So
never any updates.
we're gonna end it here for the news portion.